Welcome to this Office for Students video tutorial that will demonstrate how to navigate the Access and Participation Data Dashboard. For an introduction to the dashboard and an explanation of its key concepts, please watch the video Introduction to the Access and Participation Data Dashboard. This video tutorial will cover the overview and the detailed view, student lifecycle stages, how to filter by provider, mode, and level, chart types in the overview, what the charts show in the overview, chart types in the detailed view, what the charts show in the detailed view, statistical uncertainty, and where to find further guidance and support. There are two views within the Access and Participation dashboard, the overview and the detailed view. The dashboard opens by default on the overview, where you can see indicators and gaps for multiple student characteristics simultaneously. To see the detailed view, you need to click on the See More Data button in the top left corner. The detailed view shows indicators, gaps, and ratios for one student characteristic at a time. It contains further detail and explores more student characteristics than the overview, including some intersections between characteristics. If you click on Help Guide, you can see a summary of the key points that I will talk about. Student lifecycle stages. Both views show 5 student lifecycle stages: access, continuation, completion, attainment, and progression. The buttons on the top allow you to change between different lifecycle stages. Access shows the profile of students entering higher education. Continuation follows a cohort of entrant students through the early stages of their course and tracks how many continue or qualify. Completion follows a cohort of entrant students through subsequent years of their course and tracks how many continue or qualify. Attainment, or degree outcomes, gives the number of students who are awarded first or upper second class degrees. And progression reports on the proportion of qualified students to progress to professional or managerial employment, further study, or other positive outcomes. How to filter by provider, mode, and level. When the dashboard opens, it shows data for all registered English higher education providers. To view data for a specific provider, use the Select a Provider drop-down menu. You can select mode and level of study in the table on the left-hand side of the screen by clicking on the corresponding cells. The percentages in the table show the proportion of students in each mode, level, and level of study combination within the students covered by that life cycle stage. Please note that if you select a cell that displays 0%, there may not be any data visible. Chart types, indicators, and gaps. In the overview, you can decide whether to view the life cycle stages as indicators or gaps by using the toggles in the left-hand side of the screen. In the overview, the gaps are between a reference category and the category with less favorable outcomes. In the context of an access and participation plan, if you are comparing the difference in performance, this would usually be comparing a disadvantaged group with a relevant comparator. Time series and aggregates. Also in the overview, you can select to see time series or aggregates. The dashboard covers the latest 6 years of data available, and the data can be viewed either as a time series of the single years or as the latest 4-year aggregate and the latest 2-year aggregate. Note that this aggregate value will not necessarily equal the average of the values across individual years if the population sizes between them are different. This time series is provided to help you identify trends and patterns in performance. Let's go back to time series. Once you've made all your selections, the charts will show the values of the indicator or gap for each student characteristic. There is a chart for each categorization of students, which we call split indicator type. Within each chart, different colored lines or dots refer to specific attributes or split indicators. For example, the first chart shows the values of selected indicator or gap by tundra quintile. Each line corresponds to a different quintile. The legend below shows the attribute which corresponds to each line. If you hover over any data point, the tooltip will show the name of the provider, the year that the indicator or gap refer to, the attribute, and the indicator value or percentage point gap. If it is an indicator chart type, the tooltip will show the denominator, and in progression charts, it will show information about the response rate. For example, if we select full-time undergraduate continuation indicator, looking at all registered English higher education providers, the chart shows that for 2017 to 18, entrance in Tundra Quintile 5, continuation was 93.1%, with a denominator of 84,170. Let's click the See More Data button to switch to the detailed view. Selections for provider, mode, level, and lifecycle stage remain the same when you switch views. They can be changed in the same way as in the overview using the controls on the left and the buttons at the top. Chart type, indicators, gaps, ratios, and interim study for progression. In the detail view, you can select chart type using the buttons at the top. As well as indicators and gaps, you can also see ratios. These are the ratios between two split indicators within the same split type. For progression, there is one additional chart type, interim study. This provides information about the number of students that counted negatively towards the progression indicator, but reported that they had taken interim study or significant interim study between graduating and being surveyed as part of the Graduate Outcomes Survey. This information is reported as a proportion of students in the progression population. To see this chart, you need to select a single split indicator. We will cover how to select split indicators now. Let's go back to look at continuation. The detailed view shows one split indicator type at a time. Use the Select Split Indicator Type menu to select the split indicator type. There is an expanded set of split types here compared to the overview. For example, select age. The charts are similar to those in the overview, with one line chart or data point for each split indicator. Both the time series and the aggregate charts are shown, as well as a data table below. For indicators and interim study, once you've selected a split indicator type, you can decide if you want to see multiple splits or a single split indicator. By clicking on Select a Single Split Indicator, it is possible to select a single split. We will need to choose a split indicator that is compatible with the split type age to see a chart. Notice that for most split types, there are additional splits available here. For example, for age, there are more detailed age bands. As well as young and mature, we could select 21 to 25 years old. This section changes for gaps and ratios, where we are asked to select which splits to compare. Let's look at gaps for an example. The second drop-down menu is now asking us to select a comparison. An expanded set of splits and comparisons is available compared to the overview. A comparison compatible with the split type needs to be selected to see a chart. For age, you can choose, for example, young compared with mature. The chart now shows the gap in continuation rates between young and mature students. Statistical uncertainty. The Access and Participation Data Dashboard includes information on statistical uncertainty for indicators and gaps. Let's look back at indicators. For each data point, there are vertical shaded bars. These represent the changing likelihood that underlying provider performance takes different values, with the darkest shading representing the range in which there is the greatest likelihood that true provider performance might lie. Wider shaded bars mean we need to consider the potential for the provider's true performance falling within a wider range of values around the point estimate that has been observed. Hovering over different areas of the shaded bar, the tooltips report the values of the upper and lower confidence interval limits that correspond to various levels of uncertainty, ranging between 75% and 99.7%. For example, here we can see that for the sector the 95% confidence interval for 2020 to 2021 is between 81.9% and 82.5%. This suggests that you can be 95% confident that the underlying performance is between 81.9 and 82.5%. Statistical uncertainty information is only available for one split indicator at a time. If we click on Show Multiple Split Indicators, the shaded bars are no longer visible and a drop-down menu, Show Statistical Uncertainty, appears. Use this menu to select the split that we want statistical information about. We could select young or mature, but let's change the split indicator type to ethnicity. And select Mixed. The shaded bars appear around each mixed ethnicity data point to communicate the statistical uncertainty. In the Gaps chart type, once a comparison is chosen, for example, select white compared with mixed, statistical uncertainty information is shown by default because there is only one gap. In the overview, use the menus above each chart to see statistical uncertainty information about a single split indicator. Where to find further guidance and support. At the top of the page, under the About the Dashboard heading, there is a link to the Dashboard User Guide, which summarizes a lot of the information in this video, including a key terms glossary. You can then use the link to the right to go back to the data dashboard. Also at the top of the page, under the Queries and Feedback, there is a link to frequently asked questions for the dashboard. These cover the dashboards for all of our student outcome and experience measures, including the Access and Participation Data Dashboard. For more technical guidance and detailed descriptions, please refer to the latest version of our algorithms. Click on Data and Analysis in the blue banner at the top. In the section Our Approach and Methods towards the bottom of the page, click on Student Outcome and Experience Measures, and then on Documentation. You will find documents with descriptions and definitions of student outcome and experience measures used in OFS regulation, instructions to rebuild the indicators from individualized data, and core algorithms which explain how to calculate the fields included in the OFS individualized files from the student data. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. If you have any questions on the dashboard or the calculation of indicators, please contact Provider Metrics at officeforstudents.org.uk.